Are we ready? Are we ready for Pick Six, brought to you by BetMGM?
Yes, we
You and
are
I are
ready
doing some heavy
for Pick
lifting
Six.
this week on Bet Six. Pick Six by BetMGM. Place your money line, prop, parlay, and same game parlay bets at BetMGM. Just download the app today. As always, please gamble responsibly. Again, we're going to pick these 6 games against the spread. Mark has his deuce dog of the week. And we remind everybody that these lines are current as of Tuesday, so they obviously can change. I'm gonna start first. We have Arizona at number 14, BYU. Cougars at home, live on Fox, live on Big Noon Kickoff.
Kickoff.
They were favored by 3.5. It's already grown to 5.5.
Wow.
Zona. They fell last week. They sit 3-2 overall. They're 1-1 in what is really a competitive Big 12. The Big 12 is so good this season. It's not getting enough love because of just what the Big 10 and the SEC is. But the Big 12 is going to get a lot of love on Big Noon Kickoff this week. Cougars, they're sitting there in a 4-way tie for second in the conference. You know who's first place in the Big 12, by the way? Texas Tech.
Wow.
Texas Tech. How about the Red Raiders? All right. So, Mark, when you historically think of BYU, all right, what comes to mind? I think I know the answers.
Taysom Hill.
Yep.
Jamal Williams.
Yeah. So like offense, points, and passing, all those Heisman-type candidates and winners that have come through there. So, yes, they still have a good offense, but it's their D this year that has really grown to be the difference. Did some research. They are among the top 25 nationally in passing efficiency defense. That's at number 5. Passes intercepted. Scoring defense and total defense. And they are going to need it against a sneaky, explosive offensive team that is Arizona. Remember, the Wildcats, they've already come to the state of Utah, the Beehive State, and upset Utah earlier this season. But with BNK at BYU, enough said. BYU wins, covers, and they continue their push towards a playoff spot. Let's stay in the Big 12. Give me a Sko Buffs. Number 18, Kansas State. Favored in Boulder. The Buffs part of that group along with BYU that's tied for second in the Big 12.
You said it. The Big 12 is an exciting conference this year. It's a lot. It's wide open. And this game right here will have a lot to do with the Big 12 implications. We got Kansas State at Colorado. It's going to be an exciting matchup. Kansas State has one of my favorite players in the country, Avery Johnson, their quarterback. He's a beast. He's electric running the football. They have a running back.
Flow.
Yes. He got the flow going. And they run the football. You know me. I love when teams run that football. And they have DJ Giddens, their running back. They're the number 2 ranked rush offense in the Big 12. Guess what? Colorado just faced the number 1 ranked rush offense in UCF. We were there. And how'd
they do in that one?
They did really well.
They stood up to the test. Maybe the most impressive win of Deion Sanders' era.
They've had the most impressive win of the prime era when they played UCF 2 weeks ago because they both coming off a bye week. But when we talk about their most impressive win, they scored 48 points on offense. Their defense had 4 takeaways, 5 sacks. But Shedur's been sacked 17 times this year, so they have to find a way to protect him. They don't really run the ball, but they generate their run offense with some quick throws in the passing game. I'm going with the Buffs. I'm going with the deuce dog of the week. Let's go Buffs. It's because Kansas State's defense has been kind of like their backbone. That's the backbone. They've given up 58 points in the last 2 games. And with Shadur Sanders, Travis Hunter, Jimmy Horn Jr., LeJontay Wester, I'm going with the Buffs in the shootout, man. I think this defense is going to step up to the test like they did last week versus UCF. I'm going with the Buffs.
Hey, Colorado gets the win, Mark. They're going to be inside the top 25. They should. And that narrative about Deion and that program is just going to escalate massively. Let's swing to the Big 10 right now. Number 4, Penn State, a 5.5-point favorite in Southern Cal at USC. Now, remember, we talked about it earlier in the show with Matt. Trojans, once as high as number 11, lost 2 of their first 3 Big 10 games, including that loss at Minnesota. So they're out of the top 25 right now. As for Penn State, we were there last week. They eventually pulled away from struggling UCLA. They're all the way up at number 4 right now. So this kind of seems like 2 programs like going in different directions, right? But speaking of directions, yeah, Penn State is going in a different direction, as in all the way out to the West Coast.
Right.
And we have seen already, right, how impactful that travel has been in the Big Ten this season.
Michigan going to Washington.
Bingo. Thank you for backing me up. I think we are Penn State overvalued. I think they're kind of like a Missouri overvalued, maybe not that bad. And I think that USC, Matt doesn't want to hear it, but they have a path to the playoffs. And I think they're leaning into that. It is a must-win game at the Coliseum for the Trojans on Saturday, and they're going to do it. They're going to get the win. I'm calling another Big Ten upset. Let's pivot back to let's pivot back to the SEC top 20 showdown. Ole Miss at number 9, Mark, a 3-point favorite at number 15 LSU. You're going to walk into Death Valley and you're going to be a favorite?
Walk into Death Valley and be a favorite. We know Death Valley is one of the most toughest places to play in all of sports in general. But let me tell you this. It's going to be a shootout, Stoner. Last year, these teams combined for 14 touchdowns and 1,343 yards in an Ole Miss win by 6 points. But let me tell you about this year. Jackson Dart leads the SEC in pass yards per game and he's second in pass touchdowns because Garrett Nussmeier is first in pass touchdowns and second in yards. So
the Nuss Dog.
Come on, the Nuss Dog. All right. No, but it's going to be an electric game. It's going to be a shootout. Both these quarterbacks, both these offenses are very prolific, but I got the difference being Ole Miss's defense. Ole Miss's defense is a lot more stout than LSU's defense is right now at this point in time. But maybe this defense gets a big lift from the crowd. What's the line? What's the line?
3 points Ole Miss is favored by.
Ole Miss 3 points? Ooh. Ooh. Hey, I'm taking Ole Miss. I'm taking Ole Miss in Death Valley. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry. All my Louisiana people gonna be mad at me, but it's
that's
still
all right.
It's still
that's
who
right.
that.
They still know how awesome you are. This one, I think, is going to be a playoff elimination game. The loser of this one is in real dire straits to move on to the playoffs. All right, let's go to the beautiful Cotton Bowl in Dallas, Texas. Number 1, Texas, returning back to the top of the poll. They got 52 out of 61 first place votes. They take on number 18, Oklahoma.
The Red River Rivalry. You can never underestimate these games. And guess what? You want a saucy nug?
Tell me. Oh, a bonus saucy nug from Wendy's?
Want a saucy nug?
I love
Steve
saucy nugs.
Sarkisian is 1-2 against Oklahoma.
Ooh. No bueno.
No bueno.
Makes you think. Is that what you're telling me?
No, it's not what I'm telling you.
Okay.
Oklahoma, the strength of their team has been this defensive unit. They're averaging almost 4 sacks a game, giving up about just 16 points per game. So, doing good. But last time they played, they gave up 338 passing yards to Auburn. And we know what Texas likes to do. Texas likes to spin the ball around the yard. Quinn Ewers had that oblique injury.
I think he's going to be back.
Yep. He had that oblique injury. He's coming back. They're one of 3 FBS teams averaging 300-plus yards per game passing and 190 rushing yards passed per game with Ole Miss. And guess who? The Fighting Signettis of Indiana. They got the number 1 scoring defense in the SEC, number 2 in the FBS, number 2 pass defense in the FBS. I'm going with the Longhorns, man. Hook them, baby. I'm going with the hook them in this one. I just don't think they have enough offensively. They're in I think Oklahoma's in a kind of like an identity crisis offensively. They benched their quarterback. Now they got Michael Hawkins Jr. starting, a true freshman quarterback. They're going against Texas team who is hungry, and they on a mission. So I'm going
Weird
with the
things happen in that game, though.
They do.
As of late.
And like I told you, the Saucy Nug, he's 1-2 versus the Sooners.
I love the bonus Saucy Nug. So does Wendy's. All right. The game, though, this Saturday, number 2 versus number 3. First time this season, Oregon is an underdog. Ohio State's going cross-country. Mark, their favorite.
You already said that cross-country.
I know those cross-country ones they're tricky, man. They scare me. This one obviously has been circled, not just by college football fans, but by these programs for months. I see this one as kind of a mid-season preview of the Big Ten championship game. Both certainly impressive, but both, Mark, have question marks, right? The Buckeyes, they haven't been tested just because the opposition hasn't been there yet. What are you going to do, right? What are you going to do? You just play the teams that are on your schedule.
Right.
last week, they were only up 7-0 at the half on Iowa, able to turn it on. The thing I really like about Ohio State this year, and Will Howard mentioned it a little bit, they're more physical. They are tougher on both lines of the scrimmage, not just offensively, but defensively. Remember, they kind of had that soft reputation. People were trying to push that out there in Ohio State. That is not the narrative this year in Columbus. And then it's all those game changers. It's not just the game changers out wide. It's the game changers that you can hand the ball back to.
Them are beasts.
Now I'm talking your language, right?
Them are beasts.
Early struggles, particularly on that offensive line and stopping the run. But, they snuck by Ashton Genty and Boise State at home, even though Genty ran all over them. But I feel like they've kind of figured things out a little bit since then. Dan Lanning feels like this team is more of what he thought it would be. But the red zone gives me pause. Dylan Gabriel, remember 2 red zone picks last week, Friday night, in that win over Michigan State. I love the Ducks. I think Oregon is a playoff team. But right now, I trust what Ohio State is more. So I like Ohio State to go cross country to win and to cover. That would, they're going to win and cover because they're favored. You with me on that one, or just kind of?
I'm with you.
That's a tough one, man. It is. I cannot.
It doesn't. This isn't a playoff elimination game either.
Correct.
Right. So,
both teams are.
It's the Big Ten hierarchy.
There you go. Yeah, this is kind of for first place in the Big Ten.
This is for a statement.